In the early goings of the new MLB season, the Philadelphia Phillies have looked very good, winning their first two series and looking like one of the powerhouses of the National League. The hiring of Dave Dombrowski signaled that the club is serious about pushing for a playoff run and potential championship, and there's a lot of games left to play, but Philadelphia Phillies fans probably haven't been this excited since the late 2000s. From 2007 to 2011, the Philadelphia Phillies had some serious playoff runs with plenty of memorable players on each of those rosters. Whether it was former National League MVP Jimmy Rollins flashing his glove in the field or putting balls over the fence, or Cole Hamels striking out every batter in sight from the southpaw side, or one of the most reliable backstops in their history in Chooch, the Phillies had plenty of depth behind their two best players in Chase Utley and Ryan Howard. But today we're going to talk about a player that came a little bit later and isn't nearly as remembered as those guys. Domonic Brown was selected by the Phillies in the 20th round of the 2006 MLB Draft out of Reedon High School in Stone Mountain, Georgia. For those of you who are familiar with Domonic Brown, you may remember that he had a lot of attention drawn to him as a prospect, so it may be shocking to learn that he was drafted all the way back in the 20th round. Well, it turns out that he had fallen off some teams' radars prior to the draft, and he actually planned to attend the University of Miami to play wide receiver for the Hurricanes, but the Phillies offered him a $200,000 signing bonus to play baseball instead. During the 2009 season, Brown was ranked the 48th best prospect in MLB, and during the 2010 season, he'd rise up his rank all the way to number 14. He was actually suspected in trade rumors related to pitcher Roy Halladay, but the Phillies refused to part with him. By 2011, Domonic Brown was the number 4 prospect in baseball and got his first invite to Philly spring training, and he would make his presence known by homering off Justin Verlander in his first spring training game. However, this is where Brown's injury woes began, as he would break a bone in his right wrist and had to have surgery, missing out on most of the 2011 season. He suffered several injuries in 2012, including right knee inflammation and a left hamstring injury, causing him to miss time there. By 2013, Brown was slated to be the starting everyday left fielder for Philadelphia, but many were questioning his ability to stay on the field and live up to his potential. Brown would be 25 years old in 2013 and hadn't had more than 200 major league at-bats recorded in a season. After 6 seasons in the minors, it was put up or shut up time for Domonic Brown. Fans had reason to grow worried in the early goings of the season, as Domonic Brown would slash a .233 batting average, .681 OPS, and just 3 home runs in the month of April, not to mention some lackluster defensive performances. Time was officially running out on Domonic Brown, but then, he turned it on. After losing the first game in May of 2013, the Phillies dropped their record to 12-16 and were in desperate need of an X-factor in their lineup. Little did they know that X-Factor was already on their team, not sitting on another team waiting in a trade. Domonic Brown figured something out this month, or maybe his injury stopped hampering him because he played the best baseball of his life. It was an awakening for Domonic Brown, who posted his first batting average over 300, slugging percentage over 600, and OPS over 900 in any calendar month. He managed to put 12 balls over the fence in addition to 25 RBIs and a few scattered extra base hits, as well as 3 stolen bases. His all-around performance earned him Player of the Month honors in the National League. Even Brown's defensive woes were silenced during this month, as he turned in an average defensive WAR value. Domonic Brown's 12 home runs led the National League, and the only player in MLB to hit as many home runs as he did was Miguel Cabrera of the Detroit Tigers. His 25 RBIs in May would rank first in the National League, 4th in MLB, with his .688 slugging percentage trailing only Paul Goldschmidt in the National League. Perhaps the most eye-opening thing about Domonic Brown's May 2013 isn't something that's considered positive. During the entire month, Domonic Brown didn't draw a single walk. He was extremely free-swinging and his strikeout percentage wasn't great, sitting at 19.3%. This also meant that his batting average and OPP were identical, and his OPS total at the end of the month hurt because of the low on-base percentage. But Dom Brown was playing a solid left field, he was stealing bases, and he was tearing the cover off the ball, so the Phillies had nothing to complain about. Domonic Brown's highest production actually came in the last week of the month, and without his red-hot last 7 games in May, he might have not taken home the Player of the Month award. Domonic Brown hit more home runs in the last 6 games of May compared to the entirety of the first 3 weeks. His OPS skyrocketed 700 points, and he nearly cleared just as many RBIs in that time frame. The name of the game was his efficiency with runners in scoring position, as Domonic Brown would post a .912 OPS and a .283 batting average with runners in scoring position. He was also a good rally starter as well, posting a .328 batting average with 2 outs and nobody on. It's also worth mentioning that Brown's .688 slugging percentage in May was higher than his OPS in April at .681. His slugging percentage alone was higher than his on-base and slugging combined just a month before. So the month-to-month transformation of Domonic Brown took everyone by surprise. In all fairness, Domonic Brown was the top Phillies prospect for a while, and at one point the number 4 prospect in MLB, so this type of production was expected. It was just nice that it was finally coming to fruition, or so it seemed. Domonic Brown caught the attention of the national spotlight during a 4-game set with the Red Sox, where he'd clubbed 4 home runs in 4 games. Domonic Brown followed up this strong end to May with a strong showing in June, batting .278 with an .884 OPS and rectifying his walk issue by drawing 12 walks in June, a career best in a calendar month for him. His steady, consistent performance resulted in a great sign for Phillies fans, as Domonic Brown was added to the 2013 NL All-Star team as a reserve. The sky was looking like the limit for Domonic Brown, but as the story goes from many of these Monster Month videos, the decline was coming very soon. While it was nothing serious at first, the injury bug would come back and bite Domonic Brown as soon as the second half of baseball kicked off in 2013. It was nothing that would send him to the DL for a significant amount of time, but enough to limit his playing time considerably. Brown would miss a week in July, then a week in September, and because he wasn't getting consistent at-bats like he was in the first half, his numbers began to decline. The drop-off in stats in Domonic Brown's second half is pretty catastrophic. He hit 1/3 the amount of home runs in his monster May and June, 20 less RBIs, and didn't steal a single base. His OPS fell off a cliff, not to mention his defense returning to its poor state due to the injuries hampering his physical play. He'd finished the season with a negative -0.8 defensive WAR, and while that's not desirable, this ended up being his best full season total from his career. Every other season, he'd scored at least negative -1.0 DWAR. Sporting News rated Domonic Brown the worst defensive left fielder in MLB headed into 2014. Domonic Brown would play more games in 2014 than he did in 2013, but his overall stats would be way worse, hitting only 10 home runs, posting an OPS of .634, and striking out just as much as he did prior. In 2013, his OPS was 24% better than league average, but in 2014, it was 23% worse than league average. Brown's injuries and playing woes would culminate in an absolutely abysmal 2015, where he would bat .228 with 5 home runs and 25 RBIs in 63 games played, and would end up getting outrighted off the Philadelphia 40-man roster by season's end. And by the comparison of his 2013 season to the rest of his career, it becomes pretty obvious that Domonic Brown was a one-year wonder. His home run total in a single season matched the rest of his career, he posted a far higher OPS, slugging percentage, and on-base percentage, and just seemed like more confident and healthy in 2013 than in any other season. Definitely the most eye-opening and surprising stat is the positive-negative mirroring of his Fangraphs WAR listed at the bottom. Plus 2.4 in 2013, negative 2.4 in all other seasons combined. But rather than continuously harp on the negatives that came after his Monster Month, let's talk about the crazy things Domonic Brown accomplished in his very successful 2013 season. Back when the Phillies were running the division in the late 2000s, Chase Utley and Ryan Howard both took home 4 Player of the Month awards each, and Domonic Brown was the first player to win the award since that group. And since 2013, no other Philadelphia Philly has taken home NL Player of the Month since. The only other Phillies to sniff the single-month home run total that Domonic Brown achieved are elite company in Ryan Howard and Mike Schmidt. Domonic Brown is the only Philly in history to be drafted in the 20th round or later and make an All-Star team. His story of reaching the big leagues was already unlikely enough, and the fact that he was such a highly rated prospect and found success at the top level is truly inspiring. Domonic Brown would bounce around minor league affiliates of the Blue Jays and Rockies after 2015 and landed in the Mexican League, where he played as recently as 2020. He's also an advocate for diversity in MLB and is working with the Phillies to raise awareness and income for inner-city areas and their baseball programs. I was really happy to discover that Domonic Brown is still with the organization that invested so much and believed in him even as a young kid. You can tell that Philly holds a very special place in his heart, and that's why he continues to do work there to this day. So there's a bit of a happy ending for you guys.
Hey guys, to end the video, I thought I'd fill you guys in on some channel-related news. First of all, baseball season's back, thank God. This also means that I'm going to be streaming a little bit more because summer is right around the corner. Watch parties and more baseball-related content will be right here on YouTube, but to watch me play some video games, some baseball-related, some not, make sure you go follow me on Twitch. The link should be in the description. It's twitch.tv/jolly_olive. I also have some cool new sponsors in the pipeline. I'm just getting some things worked out before I can tell you guys all about that stuff. It's really cool stuff, baseball-related, some of it, so keep your eye out for that in upcoming videos. This is my first Monster Month video in quite a while, so if you enjoyed this and want to see more of this series, make sure you leave a comment down below telling me which player you'd like me to do next, and maybe I might just do it. As always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me grow the audience, which in the end is going to be my goal for all these videos. And I just got my first shot of the COVID vaccine today. My second shot will be in a month, so hopefully I'll be back at baseball games very soon and be able to meet some of you guys, especially if you're Mets fans. I'll be at a lot of those games. Alright guys, that's all I got for you today. I'm the Jolly Olive, and I'll see you guys next time.